Hang on one second. Let me just stop there. So you have someone who's for $8 a week who picks up after your dogs. I would 100% hire that out as well.
All day.
Or just have a system in place to not have a dog. But
welcome to the Disruptance Podcast. Here are your hosts, Eric Forney and Michael Bounds.
Mike, every week on the show, we aim to disrupt the way real estate agents and entrepreneurs think about their business and life. And this week, what I want to disrupt the way you think about is the remote work environment. Obviously, we've all gotten a little too used to this concept of remote work, or at least most of the country has. And I don't want to be one of those boring, beaten into the ground podcasts about work from home, because that to me is overplayed, and everyone has their own life events and circumstances that impact their ability to thrive in a work from home environment. I mean, I worked in a closet for the first 8 months or 9 months of a pandemic with a 2-year-old. So that, as you might imagine, was a real treat. This isn't about work from home. This is about the idea of remote work, and the ability to implement leverage in your business with remote workers.
Horsepower.
So, that's right. So first, I think in order to understand remote work and how remote work comes into play for an entrepreneur, we have to first look at the progression of where an entrepreneur is at the start, and then where they are at the finish line, with the finish line being, maximum growth in business capacity. So at the beginning, it's the entrepreneur who starts the business, right? Unless it's entrepreneur and co-founder, or founder, co-founder. What do we do next? When you start your business and you have a surplus of sales or a surplus of work to do, you have a choice to make.
Yeah.
You're either going to sacrifice your home life, so you're gonna compromise your family, your friends, your health, your sleep, your spirituality. Something has to give in your 24 finite hours.
Right.
And so for the person who's in that position, what do they give up first to get some more of that time back?
I think a part of the you hit the nail on the head. So this is not about, well, for one, you're going to gain more resources or more money by adding leverage, but you get time.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, I was saying earlier, I'm on a quest to get more of my time back. And what adding leverage has done is allowed me, I said earlier, horsepower. I like fast cars.
We know that. We know
I
that
love
from 4
fast
episodes
cars.
ago.
I love them. There's nothing more disappointing than hitting the gas pedal and it just doesn't do anything. It's a dog, right? And so that's the way my business kind of feels when it's just me. You're just kind of like the most you can do. But man, when you get some leverage, that's like adding a twin turbo or a supercharger.
Yeah.
If you get the right people. And what's crazy is it's difficult. You're going to drop some statistics. It's really difficult to hire talented people, but there's a pool of people out there that a lot of people are just not even, they're sleeping on. You can find leverage virtually, and there's a bunch of different resources and ways to do it, and it's cost effective. And it may be that delta or that gap between bringing in somebody locally and hiring somebody from that perspective. That may be like the training wheels or the gap, or how you can kind of learn how to lead others through leading people through a virtual medium.
Okay, so if the entrepreneurs at that startup phase and their maxed capacity, in order to get their time back, the decision is, am I giving up my family? Am I giving up my health, my sleep, all these things? What I think I hear you saying is you first would give up the things that don't actually give you more time or more money. And then I always default to giving up personal items.
Right.
And the reason why is because, when I meet agents and entrepreneurs on appointments to talk through their business and coach, what I find is that the founder typically has the hardest time letting go of items of that business.
Yeah.
That business is their
It's
identity.
his baby. It's
That's
their
right.
baby. Yeah.
It's the identity of the person itself. And so giving up items of importance in the business is certain, creates a lack of certainty. And so I think that you actually have to build, there are some people that are world-class at giving things away.
Right.
And so if you're not world-class at giving things away, like most founders that I find, then you have to build the muscle of letting go. And so I think you let go of your personal items first to build that repetitious habit of leverage.
I totally agree. Like this year, I'm afraid to say this. I've aspired for the last few years to have someone take care of my yard. And so this year I sold my lawnmower.
Oh, nice. So you were really committed. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm done. I'm gone.
Yeah.
My wife is trying to talk me out of it. She's at least keep the lawnmower. No, I ain't going back.
That's right. That's right.
Not
Burn
going back. Nope.
That's right.
I'm just burn the boat.
That's right. Yep.
So I sold my lawnmower, my weed eater. I sold all that stuff. I leverage all that out. I have an assistant, and I said to my assistant, my virtual assistant, she's amazing. Her name is Aubrey. I said, look, I live in this area. I need 3 quotes of mulch. I said, give me a Excel spreadsheet and give me the best price. She not only got me the best price, she went and got the 3. She called and got them to take another $50 off. Then and when I got home from work, it was in my driveway.
Yeah. So the first thing I hear you say is you leveraged out all your yard work.
Oh yeah, and then I had somebody come in and install the mulch.
Okay, so
thank you, Kiss My Grass. You did a great job.
But why yard work first for you?
Because I think that allows you to kind of visualize it. So if you're like,
but I mean, like, is yard work your least favorite task?
No, it's not. But I live on an acre.
Okay.
And I'm really weird about my yard. I want my yard to be really nice. So I spend a crazy amount of time taking care of my yard. And that could be used in a more productive, efficient way in my business. And it's not like I can make the grass stop growing. Like I have to literally do it. So it's one of those things where I would spend so much time doing it. I can be selling real estate during that time, or doing a podcast, or doing something that could benefit from a more income producing activity.
So you leverage grass, and I know leverage for you guys in your personal life has been quest as
it's
well,
new.
Right?
Yeah, we started. Thanks to this one podcast, it really kind of it's called Disruptance. Really kind
Just
of
a shameless plug.
Check it out on YouTube.
Real
Subscribe.
shameless plug. Yeah.
Make sure you leave a review and like and comment. Anyway, so
Smash the like button.
smash that like button. We started leveraging out mowing. I'd say a couple years ago is when we started. And we just need to get rid of the lawnmower. I feel like that we keep it up with just in case, but there hasn't been a just in case mowing session, and like it got really long to a point where then it was like, okay, we'll just find someone else, because mowing companies can be kind of difficult to find that do residential. And so anyway, we found some good
you mean
ones.
so hiring the very first person or the second person doesn't always work out?
Turns out, they don't listen. Sometimes they don't go in the right gate.
Even when you hire another company or someone whose sole profession is that, it doesn't work out.
Yeah, they don't show up when they're supposed to show up. So then the back gate's locked on the day that I unlock it on the day that it's supposed to happen. Then they show up a day later, or apparently sometimes they run out of gas a lot. I've come home multiple times where the front is done and the back is trimmed. And I'm like, okay, they just do that part. And I'm like, okay, so that one's different. But there's no like phone call, text, note on the door, like, hey, we'll be back. It's me having an email. I'm like, hey, just the front looks great. Just curious if you're going to come back.
So why didn't you just quit? Like, and give up, and just start mowing your lawn again, though?
Because my hope was that after one corrective email, that they would do their job.
And did that work?
With that company, it did. Yes.
But
And
I'm
then,
guessing that company's not still mowing.
no, we did have to
Okay.
find another company this year because that company stopped residential. So it's
Okay.
obviously they were dealing with some operational issues.
So in 3 years, you've probably had 3 mowing companies at least. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think that that's good though to know because, you know, one of the biggest limiters of an entrepreneur's business development and growth is the success of the first or second person they hire. A lot of people literally will hire someone that doesn't work and then quit.
Yep.
And if it fails the first time or the second time, they
won't do it
abandon
again.
it.
Yep.
And what I hear you saying is that if you're committed to not taking that job back, you're going to hire until you get it right.
Yeah.
And so you're committed, although you haven't burnt your boat yet, you're committed to not mowing your lawn.
Very. Yeah. And picking up after our dogs. That was recently a service that I think we probably would have been. I feel like the older generations would be like, pick up after your own damn dog. But
Is that your boomer voice?
That's my boomer voice. Yeah. But it is just
That's
like,
funny.
but you think about it and it's like $8 a week. So $64, $32 a month is.
It's worth it.
I mean, we got 2 dogs though. Doesn't he charge per dog or something?
That's for up to 2 dogs.
Okay, nice.
Okay, so hang on one second. Let me just stop there. So you have someone who's for $8 a week who picks up after your dogs. I would 100% hire that out as well.
All day.
Or
All
just
day.
have a system in place to not have a dog. But
All that one right there.
That don't send your hate. It's not that I don't like dogs. Okay,
I just don't like
I
poop.
I just don't have dogs. All right, let's chill. I don't need those internet haters. So $8 a week. How many, like, are you guys his only customer, or does he have other people that he picks up after? Is this like a legitimate business, or
It
like
is.
the neighbor
He
kid?
has been doing this since 2012, and
Okay.
he has 450
So
customers.
450 people are paying this guy $8
Times
a week
$8.
to pick up
Yes.
his dog.
His only overhead,
Yeah,
he told me,
Gas.
my
Yeah.
only overhead is my truck and my gas.
it's $173,000 a year in
Yeah.
income to pick up after people's dogs.
And his son is the only one who helps
Yeah.
him.
So understand that if you guys and the other 450 of you choose not to do leverage, choose not to actually hire someone who wants to do that job, you're now robbing that person of a fantastic business and income opportunity so that you can be miserable doing it.
Correct.
So the mindset change is that somebody wants to do the job that you hate doing.
Right.
The decision is, will you find the person who's willing to do it? Because I promise you, I don't want to do that job, but it's $173,000. I might be willing to do it.
He
Drive around all
literally
day.
said he was in a corporate job and hated it. And
Okay.
he was able to do it, and he hated it. He hated everything that he was made to do that didn't make any sense. And so he was like, is there something else? And he was like, I mean, he's telling me this while he's like scooping it in my yard, talking to me, just like popping it in his little container. And he was like, oh man, where was I going to go with this?
That
Oh,
he's
yeah.
unhappy,
Yeah. He was like, some people are like, oh, I'm picking up poop. And he's like, but you know what I do? I've been listening to podcasts for 5 years. I've learned so many things.
I bet.
I listen to things I care about all day. I get to just like choose what I want to listen to today and listen to in the car. And he was like, I don't have a boss,
Yeah.
and this job's not that bad.
It's a
Yeah,
So
good
for
job.
him, it's not.
So this is interesting too, because I want to get to the next mindset thing that can really screw up entrepreneurs as well. Is, do you care that this guy makes $173,000 a year?
Only in that I think it's impressive.
Okay, so
Yeah.
it doesn't make you resent him.
No, it made him interesting to me. It made me want to have him on a podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's what I need to make sure too is like how much that person makes doing that job is irrelevant.
Mhm.
Right.
Because how much is that worth to you?
Yeah.
The person who's making the decision to hire that leverage, right?
Mhm.
And so, as a business owner, someone will do the job that you don't want to do,
Right.
and they'll likely do it at a rate that like you have to be okay with.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, they oftentimes do a better job.
Absolutely. That was going to be my next thing, is because the amount of money that ideally that generates for you is exponential compared to what you're paying them, despite the fact that the equivalent of 173 grand.
Dude, you got a dude making $200,000 cleaning up your poop. They're going to do a good job.
Yeah.
And then, so what are you able to do with time or the emotion?
Like specifically, it didn't take me out of a flow. Like I was in an editing flow and have been for a couple weeks, and I'm not having to stop doing that. Something important. You don't even have to let him in. Like he'll just go through the back.
Yeah.
And I can keep being productive.
So it has eliminated the mental burden of remembering and realizing that you have to do something you have no desire to go do.
Right.
There's a cost of that. There's a cost of that mental weight, right? And then there's obviously the cost of time that it would take for you to do that. And so the first thing when we think about an entrepreneur is letting go of personal leverage so that you get comfortable to that personal leverage. And then it's letting go of business leverage, right? Once you've decided how you'll spend your time, whether it's for leisure or for leverage, and leverage mean will you get more income or get more business growth? Will you spend your time that you get back for leisure or for leverage? And you make that decision. Only each individual can decide how they spend the time they get back. There's no judgment in that, by the way. Like if you're Tim Ferriss, if you've got your 4-hour work week and you get the result, go for it. If it's 400-hour work weeks, then that works too.
Right.
I don't know where the math works in that, but you get it.
Right. That's a lot.
So when you look at business leverage, then Mike, what has the last year looked like in this remote work concept? What has it changed your thinking around when it pertains to remote work?
So being a CEO is a big job, and excuses just don't happen. Like you can't really make an excuse. I mean, the buck stops.
You can if you're accountable to people. You're right.
Right.
That's the biggest disconnect, is that some people think that they can still make excuses if they don't care about the people that are with them. Yeah.
I feel like you can't be a CEO and make excuses.
You can't be one with integrity. That's right.
Right. So with that being said, I had to find a way to multiply myself.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, there's a lot that I have to do, and there's only 24 hours or 7 days a week. So the only way to do that is I am on a quest. I've told you guys, I'm on a quest to do more by doing less. And so how I do that is you have to partner with people that literally I look at them as my right hand. They're an extension of me. And so I get a lot more done as long as and so I gave the analogy earlier. How much is a stamp now?
I'm going to say it's probably like 50, 55 cents.
Okay.
I don't know.
I remember when stamps were
Amazon.com,
25 cents still. So I'm going to take a runner and say stamps are 55 cents. Okay. I have a bill. I can either take that bill and I can either take that bill and I can run it over to whoever I'm paying, or I can pay 55 cents and I can leverage the mailman. And so it doesn't make sense for me to get in my car and go pay somebody when I could put a stamp on that and pay 55 cents. How much can I get done driving to a place to pay a bill, and then multiply that by all the bills you have to pay? So what leverage has allowed me to do I can actually get more things done because I'm doing it through people.
So your stamp analogy, to me, where that makes sense is you've dehumanized the concept of delegation, which can be good for an entrepreneur who's unwilling to let go of control to people, is you're building actually the habit of demonstrating that delegation actually can work out according to plan.
Yeah.
Right. You can hand your letter to the mailman, and then the mailman can deliver that. And you pay 55 cents for that transaction to occur from start to finish. So delegation is possible for the person who won't let go of everything. Yeah. They do it in their own life every day without realizing.
We don't even realize the disconnect. The problem happens is when we delegate something and then it comes back to us. Yeah. So like with the mailman, that's not going to happen. They're going to it's going to go where it needs to go. But if you do that in your business and you bring somebody, then it's our instinct to be like, see, it didn't work, and you stop doing it.
Yeah. So then, so there's delegation, and then there's the next level, which is automation, right?
Yeah.
And so if you have the ability to set up a repetitive auto payment
Yeah.
on those exact same monthly bills,
Right.
now you're even further created the opportunity for you to gain that time back and to gain your ability to think with clarity in the future, because it's automated without you even being aware of it.
Energy. There's no energy. It's just done.
So when I put together my daily and weekly plan, I look at what can be automated and what can be delegated. And so am I doing the same thing repetitively, in which case it needs to be automated? If it cannot be automated, can it be delegated?
Right.
So the lens that I like to look through, especially in a real estate business, is I'll always ask myself, could I delegate this to Gary Keller? If the answer is yes, that I could delegate it to the patriarch of residential real estate, then I need to find the person who can do that
Right.
as well or better than
Right.
what Gary could do. But by changing my thinking to the extreme of, could I delegate this to insert whoever, the rock star of your industry is, it allows me to have a different perspective than being stuck focusing on my own problem.
And you have a different result, because not only most people don't look for Gary Keller to do it. They're looking for any old body to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
So if you come in like, I'm looking for Gary Keller or for somebody world class to fill this role, at that point in time, that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
If you go hire just, this person needs a job, here we go, and I delegate, and guess what? It comes back to you. Then you're going off of that experience.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
It's going to freeze you. So that is the distinction. We need to stick a pin in that. You have to look for talent. Somebody who's actually going to, I always tell people, if I give you a job and it comes back, look, I hired you. One of us is getting fired. I've already fired myself from the job. If I got to do it again, guess what? I just hired myself again. Yeah. So that's kind of what you're looking for. You're looking for someone you can just kind of delegate and just hold them accountable, and they do the right thing.
It's interesting that you made the comment about thinking bigger, because along those same lines, actually, there was a story that Holly Priestner told, who was the director of recruiting at Keller Williams at the time, and that was that basically there was like a 30 under 30 magazine of tech entrepreneurs, and Gary Keller and Keller Williams, they wanted to implement a focused initiative on improving the company's technology in 2014, 15, believing that was the direction of the future. And so the magazine came out, and Gary, I guess, said to Holly or to someone, I want you to hire one of these people, that was named as the 30 greatest tech minds in the country. And that was how we went on to hire Josh Team to be the director of tech and innovation at Keller Williams, was because he was one of the 30 people in the magazine that just so happened to come out at that time. It was defined as one of the best marketing and technology minds in the country. And so that's thinking bigger, right? That goes, hey, hire one of these top 30 people in the country.
Yeah.
And
that's pretty bold.
Yeah.
Nobody, I can't imagine just open up, hey, go hire this.
Yeah. And then it's one thing to think it, right? But then Holly's got to go actually
and then go do it, execute.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
good for her.
Obviously they executed, and of course we know changes, occurred, but that's irrelevant. The reality here is focused on the thought model that goes in to hiring and looking for talent. And so what I think has come up this year is, when you think about, this has been existing for a while, but really what 2021 has shown us from a leverage perspective is the idea of being able to hire remote work to get the same or better result than you may have gotten in person. In fact, in the last 30 days, a survey of some online job application portals indicate that if you are posting an in-person job opportunity only. If your job opportunity posting online says you will hire someone for in-person work only, you're seeing 80% decline in job applicants.
Yeah, the landscape's changing. And what it's done is it's made it to where there's way more talented people. You have access to them now.
Yeah.
They don't have to be within your local jurisdiction. They can be anywhere. And guess what? You can bring them into your team. So I might not be able to get a Gary Keller, but I could get,
But you might be able to get fractionalized Gary Keller.
Yeah.
Right. You might be able to. In this case, you couldn't. But good luck. I mean, maybe
there's
I'm
a
not
lot
thinking
of
big
people.
enough. But you could potentially, like via an Upwork or a Fiverr or something, think about getting like a fractionalized version of a CFO or of a CMO or something.
Yeah.
I get 10% of that person's calendar availability.
Yeah.
Which works because you don't need a full-time chief marketing officer.
Absolutely. And you're getting those results because they are doing this on a really high level.
That's right.
And they're a part of your team.
Yeah.
So yeah, I totally get it.
Because it's interesting. Netflix at one point, Reed Hastings, the founder, had indicated that what they found was they originally, Patty McCord, who was the director of HR at Netflix, was tasked with hiring like 50 engineers, and there was this budget of 50 engineers for 50,000. Let's say numbers don't have to be right. 50 engineers, 50,000. And Patty said, "Well, how do we know it's 50 engineers? And why not 25? Or why not 10? Or what about 25 engineers at 100,000?"
Right.
And what's interesting is they determined that the best programmers and engineers were worth 100 to 1 for software development at Netflix. Wow. And so they could hire one person to get as much or more productivity and innovation than they could hire 100 decent or average engineers.
Right.
And so thankfully, they rather than hiring 50 at 50, took a different approach of how do we hire, if this is our entire line item budget, right? If it's $2.5 million, how do we hire the best $2.5 million worth of software engineers?
Right. Instead of a bunch of average Joes.
That's right.
You're going to get average results.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you,
and
I've done it. I've built it.
You'll have above average headaches though, because now you have 50 people problems.
Yeah. Yeah. That's not fun.
And so you actually get subpar results as a byproduct of that. So right now, Mike, when you look at your business, I'm someone who has resisted this, or at least has for several years, but you've started going down the route of hiring, outsourcing for remote work, like administrative assistants and
inside sales agents. My noodle is going. Like, I'm thinking of other ways to bring other people in and do other things, other businesses. Like, I don't think I'm thinking big enough. Like, because literally,
so what are you people doing now?
So right now I have a inside sales agent, Rowie. She watches. She's great. I love her. She makes phone calls, and so she sets 30 appointments for my team. So we have all these leads. She calls them. She sets appointments for my buyers agents, and then I also lead generate for listings. She makes phone calls and she sets appointments for me on my listings. She sets 30 of them a week. One thing that I implemented this week is I spent a lot of time making phone calls, calling on real estate agents. Yeah. And so I don't have a lot of time, but it takes a lot of time. So a couple of days out of the week, I have her making phone calls, calling on real estate agents. She set 12 appointments this week. which is
a ton.
Because this is insane.
When you compare it to what a typical team leader is doing, because of the amount of time that it takes to do everything else.
Yeah.
Oftentimes what lags behind is the calling and the appointment setting. And so what has it done for your way of thinking?
What it's allowed me to do is, like, I'm a new team leader. So like I've been doing this for 5 or 6 months. And what it's allowed me to do is, like, I want to compete. I want to be competitive with the other team leaders. And it's allowed me to be able to kind of focus on what it is that I'm really good at. And that's getting belly to belly with people, and putting together strategies to help them take their careers from point A to point B.
So you're able to basically shave off the lowest dollar producing activity that you still have left on your job description.
Absolutely.
And by incrementally increasing your dollar productive tasks as it pertains to your return on investment, right? So you can now do, maybe that's conducting the appointment is the next highest ROI,
Right.
or maybe that's, coaching and training.
Right.
Maybe it's teaching a recruiting workshop so that other people can recruit on your behalf.
Right.
Creating disciples of your business instead.
That's next.
So it is incrementally shaving off the lowest dollar producing activity that you still have left on your plate, and that job never ends.
And she's doing a better job at it.
Yeah, absolutely, because she's making more appointments, because that's her one thing.
That's her one thing.
Her sole focus is getting better at setting appointments and doing that over and over and over. Did you think that would have been possible 12 months ago?
This is the thing. I see all y'all big dogs selling all this real estate, and you're like, how are they doing it? And so, I want to thank you, because that is what I wanted to understand, like, how these dudes are doing $80 million, $100 million in real estate, and I do 10 million, and I feel like I'm going to die. So how I was got my teeth kicked in. So how they're doing it is this very thing.
Yeah, there's that, like, whether it's the exact same mechanism of application, the main thing is it's a focus on how do you measure the outcome of your time.
Yes.
In order to minimize the
how do I do more by doing less?
Absolutely. Yeah, and that truly is the focus on growing your business. And doing more by doing less does not mean that you don't do anything.
No.
But
It's quality, though. So then what I can do is I can be world class at what it is that I'm doing, casting that vision, and then bringing people in, and they're executing on that vision. Like, I know it sounds like you're doing less. I take days off now.
Yeah.
Dude.
I take days off now. Like, how dare you? How dare you take a day off, Michael?
Right. That's what we're talking about here, because that was like, when people hear me, Michael Bounds, say he took a day off, they are like surprised by that. I don't work weekends normally. Like today I got an agent presentation after this because I couldn't get it in during the week. I'm gonna meet an agent at Panera Bread when we leave here. So like, but that's all I got to do. Normally I had 5 buyer's appointments every Saturday, every Sunday. What leverage does is allows you to where you can have a life. You never get your time back, y'all.
Because the difference though is what got you here won't get you there to where you're going next.
It'll get me what I've gotten. So the thing that I realized is that, okay, if I want to keep being a $10 million producer, I can keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But if I want to be a $100 million producer, I got to look at what these $100 million producers are doing, and I have to model it.
Yeah. Mike, so for the entrepreneur who's resisting hiring remote work or outsourcing someone, even whether it's in country or out of country, someone who's not in person, they're being monitored. What's your one piece of advice you give them?
Stop it. Just do it. Like, no, I'm serious. Like,
it's that clear.
What it is, it's a mindset. Like, you feel like it's a pie, and you're like, okay, if I give this person a piece of my pie, that's a piece of pie that I could have. But the thing is, I could give that person a piece of pie, and guess what? I can go buy 2 pies. Guess what? I have a pie. I might have a little sliver, and the more of I can do, like the thing that helps me is I can get 100. Like I do the grape and the watermelon, but when you literally.
You have a playbook of analogies?
No, it's just how my brain, like I literally complicated things. I'll look at something. I'm like a real estate team.
Yeah.
Is a barbershop.
Okay.
I grew up.
I've not heard this one. Okay.
I grew up. I explained to people. They're like, well, okay, explain to me this team, like what a real estate team is. Okay. You go get your real estate or you're a barber, right? You go to barber school. You take your barber test, and then you actually take your license goes to the exact same place where my license go.
Interesting.
But instead of going You can either start your own barbershop or you can go to this barbershop. So you go to Executive Cuts, which is where I used to go when I had hair. I don't have hair now. You go in there and you have a guy, and that you seat your license with him and you pay him boot rent. That's the exact same thing what you're doing as a real. And also it's a law firm. I was talking to my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law is a lawyer, and I was describing my business to him. He's like, "Oh, you run a law firm?" And I was like, "Oh, that's all a law firm is? A law firm is a barbershop."
Yeah. You have paralegals.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, you have.
So I kind of think in analogies, and that's how I'm able to, like, for the longest time, I haven't been able to understand what a law firm was.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Absolutely.
People in the comments like your analogies. They
do they? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You're not annoyed by them?
No.
I like it. So you said that the biggest advice would be to stop it, but I think
I'm sorry, I didn't.
No. For the person who's not having success or hasn't had success in the past, I think there's one key distinction as to what's also working for you. What's your routine look like with your virtual assistant today in order for that to be, because the biggest breakdown I see is communication.
Yeah, I
and expectations. So how are you working through that?
So every morning at 8:30, at 8:45, I have executive meeting with you with the leadership of KW. But at 8:30, I have a 15-minute huddle with my my administrative staff, and I keep we have a project list where I keep a list during the day. I'll have something to come in my head, a list for Aubrey, and then that morning we literally will come in and she'll get clarity around everything on that list.
Okay, and
if she hasn't. Most of the time, like Friday, she looked at the list. She's like, "I have no questions." Boom. We were on there 5 minutes. Sometimes I'll just won't be clear. And every day for 15 minutes,
So if there's something on your list that you don't know all of the steps to do, so let's say that it was create a podcast, and that's on your project list. How do you delegate that out?
So for one, I will try to be more, I will try to break that down. I try to chunk that down better. So, cause I'll have create a podcast, but then I'll have a next action step. And that's the thing that's communicated on my list. So,
so you're not going to give a broad end result, like create a podcast or launch a podcast or whatever. So you'll take it and then pare it down yourself to, maybe it's research a podcast, research what's required to start one, or provide me with a list of the things that we need to do in order to create this podcast. Or,
I'll give you an example. I'm gonna start doing Airbnbs.
Okay.
I'm start doing Airbnbs. So I just said to her, I said, "Hey, do some research for some properties in this area. Put it on an Excel spreadsheet, and then give me a list." And then I got an Excel spreadsheet of all the properties in downtown Indianapolis, and then she gave me the spreadsheet. I said, "Okay, do me a favor. These two meet the criteria, what I'm looking for. Will you call the people, set up a time for me to view the property?" Yeah. And then next thing you know, I get a calendar invite. Boom, boom. I'm meeting with these people at this time. And so that's how I do it. It's on my calendar and it's effortless. She does the research for me and she allows me to just show up and do what I need to do. And so then I'll automate it. I'll make it to the where they're going to be doing all those things, and it'll be automated. And so I'm able to do more by doing less, but I got to partner with the right people. You can't do that with any old body. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. So what I hear you saying is, if you can't do it, it's likely it's not the person, or you haven't communicated. It's either the person, you've hired the wrong person, or
it's
the
my
communication hasn't been communicated.
And then during the day, we have a Slack app. And so during the day, I was giving you the analogy. I give analogies. My wife will order some food from Kroger, like a grocery quick list. Yeah. And then she'll be like, "Oh, this person keeps texting me because they don't have the certain ingredients." From time to time, I'll get a little message from my from Aubrey, and she'll say, "Hey, I have a question about this," and I hit the question, and literally, it's just like simple questions throughout the day. And then at the end of the day, I get this massive list of all the things she's accomplished, and all I'm doing is just kind of guiding her, and I'm setting proper expectations.